thought I clicked it and I didn't, so.
Yeah, it's okay. We got it. We got it. So, and there's Stephanie now.
Turn that up, and then I will do that again.
Well, it kind of wimped out there, didn't it?
I'm sharing sound.
It's all good. We got it. So, you are ready.
You are, well, one of you is ready, not me.
Oh, yeah. Terry. Terry, it's you and you're muted.
Okay. Good evening. Please be aware that the first hour and a half of this meeting will be recorded so we can put it onto our website and podcast. We record in audio only. Feel free to use the podcast on our website along with your big book as a resource if you miss a study portion of the meeting. The study portion is also listed on the website so you can follow along. In accordance with, do I read that part or do you?
Yeah, no, you read that. Take it all the way down to the...
Okay. In accordance with our group conscience on October 16, 2023, we will also be posting our podcasts on YouTube. We feel that this is an efficient way to carry our message to those seeking recovery in Alcoholics Anonymous. Tonight's recap will start on page 44 and end on page 45. It starts with in the preceding chapters. And ends on page 45, evaded or completely ignored. In our study tonight, we'll start on page 45. We know how he feels, and we'll end on page 47, however limited it was. Okay, now it's time for announcements.
Good evening, family. My name is Jamie, very grateful recovered alcoholic, and welcome to everyone. Good to see some faces we haven't seen in quite a while, so welcome. Looks like everyone here is a regular. We had group conscience last night. The minutes of that will be coming out. Please check. They get emailed to all home group members. Please check your email. Because every time we can do that and read the minutes, we can dispense with about 15 minutes of Trish reading the secretary's report. However, if necessary, we will read it. I will be going to Assembly this weekend, Area 64 Assembly, to represent this group and all of you, and I will also be carrying your voice to Assembly and also coming back with more information about other things going on in Alcoholics Anonymous outside this group that do have an effect on us. So, that being said, it's back to you, Terry.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm a recovered alcoholic. My name is Terry. Welcome to the Lewisburg Primary Purpose Big Book Study Group. To prepare for our Big Book study, let's get focused by having a 3-minute moment of meditation, followed by our family's fog light prayer.
And I think I just flipped the segue on you, Terry, but that's okay. And I'm a recovered alcoholic. My name is Jamie. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to start the meditation in a minute, so please take a moment to get situated.
Please be aware of background noises when you are unmuted and sharing it. Wait, is that after after meditation?
No, nope.
Okay. Please be aware of background noises when you are unmuted and sharing as to not distract others or yourself. We suggest we all observe proper Zoom etiquette. If you wouldn't do it in a live meeting, please don't do it here. A friendly reminder, absence of profanity offends no one. Please keep yourself muted during someone else's share. We will call on you in the order hands are raised.
Thank you, Terry. I about jumped the gun on you. From the forward did the first edition of Alcoholics Anonymous. We of Alcoholics Anonymous are many thousands of men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. To show other alcoholics precisely how we recovered is the main purpose of this book and of this group.
For the meditation, some suggestions are: focus on your breath and posture. Breathe in God and breathe out self.
Take this time to reconnect with God. Let the craziness of the day drift away and ask God to help you focus on the study. And Trish, we got people coming in. Never mind, I got it. And let me get the monks going here. And enjoy your time with God, folks. Whoops. Hang on. Gotta go back because I forgot to click a button. Otherwise, I'm the only one that will hear the monks. What? Layout. Oh, they changed it. Zoom did updates again. Who would have thunk? Enjoy your time with God, folks. And for those of you who would like to join us in our family Foglight prayer, it's on your screen in front of you. Foglight prayer. God, let your love shine through us like a fog light, so that those that are lost, sick, and dying can find your love through us. Amen.
Okay, let's have our secretary report. Come on in, Pinky.
Thank you, Miss Terry. My name is Alyssa, and I am your recovered alcoholic secretary. I've asked Miss Nicole to read the recovered statement. We read this notice to explain why many people in this group identify as recovered rather than recovering, and what it exactly means to be a recovered alcoholic. Take it away, Nicole.
Hi, we recovered. We are not cured of alcoholism, recovered but not cured. That presents a conflict to some alcoholics. If we were cured, we would be able to drink responsibly. No, we are not cured. The allergy reaction to alcohol will remain with us for a lifetime. But we have been restored to sanity. That was the problem. The main problem of the alcoholic centers in his mind rather than in his body, page 23. We are now sane where alcohol is concerned. Consequently, we have recovered.
Thank you, Miss Nicole. Thank you for joining us tonight. We meet every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Central Time with the Gerbil Fellowship Cage, where we will chatter for an hour before the start of the meeting. Feel free to bring side dishes to share with the buzzards. Our Big Book study starts promptly at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, and we ask that you be courteous and ready to begin at the sound of the foghorn. We take our Big Book study seriously, and because of this, chat will be disabled during the study. In the 1940s, when the only elements to sobriety were God, a Big Book, one recovered alcoholic working with an untreated alcoholic, the success rate was as follows. From the forward to the second edition of Alcoholics Anonymous, page XX, of alcoholics who came to AA and really tried, 50% got sober at once and remained that way. 25% sobered up after some relapse, and the remainder, those who stayed on with AA, showed improvement. Can we have a show of hands of people joining us for the first time? Welcome. And then the recovered alcoholics. These are your potential sponsors. Is there anybody celebrating an anniversary this week? No? Okay. If you should require a Big Book of your own, have a large print. We have large print editions available that can be sent to you by buzzard mail. Delivery time questionable. Please remember to practice our 7th tradition by donating to the group address, Venmo, or PayPal posted in the chat and on the screen. Our suggestion is to purchase a Big Book and take an untreated alcoholic through the program of recovery. Please visit our website posted in the chat. Thank you and see you next week.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. And let me get to my right page here. From Chapter 2, there is a solution. The tremendous fact for every one of us is that we have discovered a common solution. We have a way out on which we can absolutely agree and upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action. This is the great news this book carries to those who suffer from alcoholism.
This is an open meeting, and as such, all who have an interest in alcoholism and our program of recovery are welcome. Because this is an open meeting, you need not identify yourself nor your reason for being here if you do not wish to do so.
No.
Your anonymity will be protected. We ask that you protect ours.
While this is an open meeting, membership in this group is limited to those who wish to recover from alcoholism and have a desire to stop drinking for good and all. Each member of Alcoholics Anonymous is a potential sponsor of a new member and should clearly recognize the obligations and duties of such a responsibility.
Okay, let me see what tradition we're on here. Give me one sec. We are on, okay, before we begin our study of the Big Book, last week we reviewed chapter 5, and tonight let's take a quick look at tradition 6. Please refer to page 562 of Alcoholics Anonymous.
William, come on in.
Thank you. My name is William Alcoholic. Tradition 6. You hear me?
Yeah.
You hear me, right? Yeah, okay. Tradition 6, the short one. An AA group ought to never endorse, finance, or lend the AA name to any related facility or outside enterprise. Less problem with money, property, and prestige divert us from our primary purpose. And in the long form, it says problem with money, property, and authority may easily divert us from our primary spiritual aim. We think, therefore, that my consideration of property or genuine use of the AA should be separately incorporated and managed, thus dividing the material from the spiritual AA group. As such, should never go into business secondary aid to AA, such as clubs, hospital, which requires much property administration, ought to be incorporated and so set apart that, if necessary, they can be freely discarded by the group. In such facilities ought not to use the AA name. Their management should be the sole responsibility of those people who financially support them. For clubs, AA manager, as usually preferred. For hospital as well as other places of recuperation, ought to be well outside AA and medical supervised. While an AA group may cooperate with others, anyone, such cooperation ought to never go so far as affiliating or endorsing action implied in AA group can bind itself to no one. In reading the tradition, there was a lot of trial and error how they came up with these traditions. Even with AA, the people in AA itself, after they got the steps started, this group started forming all over the place. And Bill started out by he realized what he had, something that he had grabbed a hold to, in 1946, Bill started writing the tradition to assure our future in the AA Grapevine newspaper. And in 1953, they published the 12 and 12 and the 12 tradition. And in 1950, they were at the International Convention. They was in Cleveland. They was adopted the 12 tradition and stuff. So all that go to say that as Bill was the steps got was very important. They say they had something could be good for a whole lot of other things, but to keep it together, Bill seemed it necessary for us to focus on just alcohol, because they was in one part here in the. I like the way it came in the 12 and 12 when they found out that they had some good. Bill said the moment we saw that we had an answer for alcoholism, it was reasonable, so it seemed at the time for us to feel that we might have the answer to a lot of other things. The AA groups many thought could go into business, like finance and enterprise and whatever it took, the total field of alcoholism. In fact, we felt duty bound to throw the whole weight of the AA day behind many metric costs. So, it would be through trial and error that they came up with the tradition as it is today, that we, like every tradition, support each other, and we don't get involved in any outside entities and like that. And in my lifetime in Alcoholics Anonymous, I seen two big things came up since I've been here. So And the one was we had a symbol with the AA, a circle with a triangle, recovery unity and service. And some other companies started using it. And there was no fight from Alcoholics Anonymous because they took it. You don't see, that's how we used to identify our literature with that circle, unity, and recovery. Unity, recovery, So, but nobody never fought for that, and they just let the people have it, And I was doing recovery at the time when they said it, And my idea that we supposed to, we should have fought it, but as I stated, I see not to because it's diverse from our primary purpose. And the other thing that happened, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, I don't know, but I know what it happened that the manuscript for the big book was sold. And Alcoholics Anonymous didn't take no part in trying to go to court, maintain those rights and stuff to the manuscript, So we don't get involved. Alcoholics Anonymous don't get involved, and it's not for that as an individual you can, but as a group, because we don't get involved. And now, just how do we do that? When these issues do come up in the group, you have a voice. And always my sponsor told me in the beginning, what did the tradition say? What did the tradition say? And I would have to go back to the tradition and look at it to my understanding of the tradition, how it applied at that, whatever the issue that was going on at that time. And in the AA checklist, the tradition checklist, Tradition 6, an AA group ought to never endorse or finance or lend the AA name to any related facility or outside enterprise. That's fraud with money, profit, prestige, diverters from our primary purpose. And the first checklist should my fellow group member and I go out and raise money to endow several AA beds in our local hospital. And number 2, is it good for a group to lease a small building? Number 3, are all the officers and members of our local club or AA familiar with great guidelines on clubs which are available free from GSO? And number 4, should the secretary of our group serve on the mayor advisory committee on alcoholism? And number 5, some alcoholics will stay around AA only if they have a TV and a card room. If this is what it requires to carry the message to them, should we have these facilities? Those are the questions, and those are the questions that have to be answered whenever you look at when these issues come up into it. And definitely it is about staying sober, and it's about alcoholism. And that's our primary focus in the group. Outside of the group, you do whatever you want to do, but in the group, you keep that. And I like what Bill said about that. So that this will be here for the future, for the next people, the generation down the line. I don't know if he's seeing Zoom coming up and all these other meetings and all this other stuff coming up, but definitely it will stand the test of time so far. And it will continue to stand this test of time as long as we practice it, as long as we keep it there, And that's what happened as I began to get sober, I wanted to do whatever I could to lead us here for the next 6 months of an alcohol. Nobody understands the empathy and the sympathy of an alcoholic other than the one who's been there and done that. So I know what it feels like to be drunk, and I know what it feels like to be sober. Whatever I could do to do that, and I'm more or less willing to do that. And it didn't happen the first day I walked in Alcoholics Anonymous, and that's what makes me realize that what Bill went through. I don't think it happened with them, but it was through trial and error they came up with the locks to the gate of our sobriety. as I would say, you know what I mean? So, and it didn't even happen with the group because he talked about when he was trying to sell this to other groups, you know, it was how he was chastised and the things that they said to him at the time. But today, we here, getting sober because of the tradition. We don't get involved in the outside issue, politics, and all this other stuff that's going on in the world. We're here to help the make sick and suffering alcoholics that walk through the doors, and that's what the tradition is about. So thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of it.
Thank you, William, and thank you for being the traditionalist for the last 3 weeks. You have done an outstanding job. And next week we have a new traditionalist coming in, and that will be Molly, and she will come in for 7, 8, and 9. And we are looking for traditionalists for 10, 11, and 12. We haven't picked one yet. So if you would like to volunteer, send Trish a message, and we will help guide you into how to research for it. So thank you very much. And now it's time for our weekly segment of That Ain't in the Book. We hear a lot of stuff said in meetings that can't be reconciled with what the program of Alcoholics Anonymous has to say. Here's one of those things that we hear. I will always be recovering, never recovered. Kenny is going to come in and tell us what it has to say about that on our title page, on the very front page of the book.
It says the story of how many thousands of men and women have recovered from alcoholism.
Thank you, Kenny. And that happens to be our very first promise in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Okay, Terry, it's you.
Okay, as we study, please make use of pens, highlighters, and rulers so that you can share this experience with another alcoholic.
Thank you. In order to stay focused as we study, we use the Big Book study guide prepared by Joe and Charlie and Krusty Cliff of the Dallas Primary Purpose Group.
Tonight, we are going to start a recap on page 44, which will be read by, was that Kat?
No, Kat's gonna do the study. Art's gonna do the recap.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Art. Okay, starting on page 44 in the preceding chapters. Now, take it away, Art.
Nope, not yet, Terry.
Study portion read by Katz. Which will start on page 45. We know how he feels, and end on page 47,
Okay.
however limited it was.
Okay, we got a little more format to do. After the page is read, we will ask questions from the imaginary podium, starting back where our study portion starts tonight, which Kat is going to read for us. The answers will be one sentence unless otherwise specified, and multi-part questions are simply one sentence answers split up by commas, semicolons, hyphens, and other fun bits of punctuation.
Basically, in English, what that means is that we're going to read the material once through and then dissect the information a second time through the question and answer format. Notice how the language in the questions gives us a new light in which to consider the study material.
This is important because hearing the question and rereading the content offers a definite way of comprehending the material covered. After we have completed the study, we open up for comment, questions, observations based on what we just read. If you have had spiritual experience with this information, please by all means share as well. Please keep your share on topic and under 5 minutes. At the 5-minute mark, you will hear a timer, see a cute little dog. Maybe we'll drag one of the buzzards through the camera screen or something to let you know that your time is finished.
However, Big Book Study is not therapy. Should you begin sharing on topics which are more appropriately discussed in a different setting, i.e. a sponsor, please do not be offended when we cut that conversation short and send the buzzards nipping at your heels. For that purpose, we have fellowship meetings before and after our study time.
You can never go wrong by commenting on the pages studied, which brings us to the words of one of our co-founders of Alcoholics Anonymous: sobriety, freedom from alcohol, through the teaching and practice of the 12 steps is the sole purpose of any Alcoholics Anonymous group. Terry, I'll take this part and then you can take the other.
Oh, good. That's my arm.
How we got here, folks, we didn't wake up today saying, we're just going to read these pages out of the chapter to the Agnostics tonight. 4 years ago, in January, we started this in my house with 11 other alcoholics, and we started right on the title page that Kenny read to us of That Ain't in the Book tonight. And that's how we continue to start this every time. We are in our 3rd season. This is a 94-week Big Book study from beginning to end. And we go through line by line, page by page, one sentence at a time, through the question and answer format. We do that. We have all of the question and answer format for the preface, for the forewords, the doctor's opinion, which tells us about our disease, the classic 12th step from Bill Wilson himself, and Trish, can you send Benny a message to check his speaker settings, please? He can't hear. Classic 12-step by Bill Wilson himself, and then they give us a solution starting on page 17 that tells us 2 vitally important things, that they've given us a fellowship, and that's what we are here tonight. But they have also given us a spiritual solution, and that's what we will be studying tonight. From there we go into more about alcoholism, which is about 2 things: mental obsession and untreated alcoholism. And we see a few stories in there that maybe we can relate to, and some of the things that we have tried to do to control and enjoy our drinking, as it happens to say in that chapter. And so from there we move into the chapter that we are in now, We Agnostics, which I believe is a pathway to letting go of old ideas and old beliefs and opening our hearts and minds to new ideas and new beliefs. From there we go into How It Works, which tells us how to take steps 3 and 4. And when we move into action, it takes us through the next 7 steps. It will take us step 5 to step 11. And we do this all the way through the entirety of the book, and it is an amazing journey. We finish out with Dr. Bob's Nightmare through the question format, 2 weeks worth of traditions on the question format as well, and we revisit the spiritual experience as a standalone meeting for a 4th and final time in the book, because we've visit it 3 times as we go through the journey. So I could have broke it down more, but that was long-winded enough. So we shall just go ahead and move on. You want to ask about the hand raisers, Terry?
Yeah, before we start the recap, we will need 5 or 6 virtual hands raised. If you would like to be one of our answer readers, please be aware that the first hour and a half of this meeting will be recorded so that we can put it into our website and on our YouTube channel.
Okay, and Art, welcome, my friend.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Art. I'm a grateful recovered alcoholic. And we are starting, last week we started a new chapter, so the recap begins at the beginning of chapter 4, We Agnostics. In the preceding chapters, you have learned something of alcoholism. We hope we have made clear the distinction between the alcoholic and the non-alcoholic. If when you honestly want to, you find you cannot quit entirely, or if when drinking, you have little control over the amount you take, you are probably alcoholic. If that be the case, you may be suffering from an illness which only a spiritual experience will conquer. To one who feels he is an atheist or agnostic, such an experience seems impossible. But to continue as he is means disaster, especially if he is an alcoholic of the hopeless variety. To be doomed to an alcoholic death or to live on a spiritual basis are not always easy alternatives to face. But it isn't so difficult. About half of our original fellowship were of exactly that type. At first, some of us tried to avoid the issue, hoping against hope we were not true alcoholics. But after a while, we had to face the fact that we must find a spiritual basis of life, or else. Perhaps it is going to be that way with you. But cheer up. Something like half of us thought we were agnostic, or atheists or agnostics. Our experience shows that you need not be disconcerted. If a mere code of morals or a better philosophy of life were sufficient to overcome alcoholism, many of us would have recovered long ago. For we found that such codes and philosophies did not save us, no matter how much we tried. We could wish to be moral, we could wish to be philosophically comforted. In fact, we could will these things with all our might, but the needed power wasn't there. Our human resources, as marshaled by the will, were not sufficient. They failed utterly. Lack of power, that was our dilemma. We had to find a power of which we could live, and it had to be a power greater than ourselves, obviously. But where and how were we to find this power? Well, that's exactly what this book is about. Its main object is to enable you to find a power greater than yourself, which will solve your problem. That means we have written a book which we believe to be spiritual as well as moral. And it means, of course, that we are going to talk about God. Here difficulty arises with agnostics. Many times we talk to a new man and watch his hope raised as we discuss his alcoholic problems and explain our fellowship. But his face falls when we speak of spiritual matters, especially when we mention God, for we have reopened a subject which our man thought he had neatly evaded or entirely ignored. Thank you.
Thank you, Art. And Pickled Cat had to step away. Stephanie, could I ask you to pick up the rest of the reading from where Art stopped into page 47? So we used our own conception, however limited it was. And you are muted, my friend. Thank you so much.
They were starting to, we know how he feels.
Yes.
Until limited it was.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie, recovered alcoholic. We know how he feels. We have shared his honest doubt and prejudice. Some of us have been violently anti-religious. To others, the word God brought up a particular idea of him with which someone had tried to impress them during childhood. Perhaps we rejected this particular conception because it seemed inadequate. With that rejection, we imagined we had abandoned the God idea entirely. We were bothered with the thought that faith and dependence on a power beyond ourselves was somewhat weak, even cowardly. We look upon this world of warring individuals, warring theological systems, and inexplicable calamity with deep skepticism. We looked askance at many individuals who claimed to be godly. How could a supreme being have anything to do with it all? And who could comprehend a supreme being anyhow? Yet in other moments we found ourselves thinking, when enchanted by a starlit night, who then made all this? It was a feeling of awe and wonder, but it was fleeting and soon lost. Yes, we of agnostic temperament have had these thoughts and experiences. Let us make haste to reassure you. We found that as soon as we were able to lay aside prejudice and express even a willingness to believe in a power greater than ourselves, we commenced to get results, even though it was impossible for any of us to fully define or comprehend that power which is God. Much to our relief, we discovered we did not need to consider another's conception of God. Our own conception, however inadequate, was sufficient to make the approach and to effect a contact with Him. As soon as we admitted the possible existence of a creative intelligence, a spirit of the universe, underlying the totality of things, we began to be possessed of a new sense of power and direction, provided we took other simple steps. We found that God does not make too hard terms with those who seek Him. To us, the realm of spirit is broad, roomy, all-inclusive, never exclusive or forbidding to those who earnestly seek. It is open, we believe, to all men. When therefore we speak to you of God, we mean your own conception of God. This applies to other spiritual expressions which you find in this book. Do not let any prejudice you may have against spiritual terms deter you from honestly asking yourself what they mean to you. At the start, this was all we needed to commence spiritual growth, to effect our first conscious relation with God as we understood Him. Afterward, we found ourselves accepting many things which then seemed entirely out of reach. That was growth. But if we wished to grow, we had to begin somewhere, so we used our own conception, however limited it was.
Excellent. Thank you so much for pinch hitting, sister, and it's great to see you tonight. Okay, folks, now we go back to where Stephanie began reading on page 45. We know how he feels, and we have 4 hands up. We could use one more if someone is willing. And if not, we'll go with what we have. Thank you, Lisa. So our batting order is going to be Kenny. Let me write this down. Pinky, William, Nancy, Lisa, and Toe Tappin' Pickle's going to come in as well. Wonderful. Thank you all for your service. So, Kenny, starting off with you, sir. Do we understand?
We know how he feels.
Thank you so much. And Pinky, coming to you. What have we shared? 2 sentences.
We have shared his honest doubt and prejudice. Some of us have been violently anti-religious.
Thank you so much. And William, the word God does what to others?
The word God brought up a particular idea of Him, which some had tried to impress them during childhood.
Thank you. And Nancy, you are still muted, so you'll need to unmute. Thank you. And your question is, why did we reject a particular conception?
Perhaps we rejected this particular conception because it seemed inadequate.
Thank you. And Lisa, coming to you. Once we rejected all ideas, what did we believe?
With that rejection, we imagined we had abandoned the God idea entirely.
Thank you. And Toe Tappin', what was it that bothered us?
We were bothered with the thought that faith and dependence upon a power beyond ourselves was somewhat weak, even cowardly.
Thank you. And Terry's going to come in with a couple of comments as well. Terry, you're muted.
Sorry. Do we have faith that when we go to the grocery store, we will find bananas in the produce section? Do we not have faith in the person who grows the bananas, the person who buys them for the store, and on the person who puts them on shelves so that we can buy them? Is it not a faith dependent on a power beyond ourselves? Why then do we struggle to have faith in something we cannot see?
Thank you so much. And Kenny, coming back to you, what gave us cause to believe this?
We looked upon this world of warring individuals, warring theological system, and inexplicable calamity with deep skepticism.
Thank you. Pinky, why did we distrust some folks?
We looked askance at many individuals who claimed to be godly.
Thank you. William, with all the evil, what two questions were posed? 2 sentences, sir.
How could a supreme being have anything to do with it all? And who could comprehend a supreme being anyhow?
Thank you so much. And Nancy, yet in other moments, what did we wonder? 2 sentences, please.
Yet, in other moments, we found ourselves thinking, when enchanted by a starlight night, who then made all this? There was a feeling of awe and wonder, but it was fleeting and soon lost.
Thank you so much. And Lisa, what have we shared with those of agnostic temperament?
Yes, we of agnostic temperament have had these thoughts and experiences.
Thank you. Trish, you get a 2-parter. What happens when we are able to lay aside our prejudices and become willing, and this happens even though what?
Let us haste to reassure you. We found that as soon as we were able to lay aside prejudice and express even a willingness to believe in a power greater than ourselves, we commenced to get results, even though it was impossible for any of us to fully define or comprehend that power which is God.
Thank you so much. And back to the top, Kenny, what were we relieved to learn?
Much to our relief, we discovered we did not need to consider another's conception of God, our own.
Nope, that's it. Thank you, sir. And Pinky, if we are only able to pretend there is a higher power, what is promised?
Our own conception, however inadequate, was sufficient to make the approach and to effect a contact with him.
Thank you. Sir William, 2-part question. A, what 2 things will we possess as soon as we are able to admit there just might be a higher power? And B, provided we do what?
As soon as we admit the possibility of existence of a creator intelligence, a spiritual of the universe, underlying the totality of things, we begin to possess it of a new sense of power and direction, provided we took other simple steps.
Amen. What were these other simple steps we must take?
Thank you. Nancy, what have we found?
We found that God does not make too hard terms with those who seek Him.
Thank you. Lisa, we have found the realm of spirit to be what?
To us, the realm of spirit is broad, all inclusive, never exclusive, or forbidding to those who earnestly seek.
Thank you. And toe tapping, who may benefit by it?
It is open, we believe, to all men.
Thank you. And Kenny, coming back to you, sir. When we speak of God, what do we mean?
When therefore we speak of God, we mean your own conception of God.
Thank you. Pinky, how about other spiritual ideas in this book?
This applies to other spiritual expressions which you find in this book.
Thank you. William, what should we not do?
Do not let any prejudice you may have against spiritual terms deter you from honestly asking yourself what they mean to you.
Thank you. Nancy, at the start, what else do we need?
At the start, this was all we needed to commence spiritual growth, to effect our first conscious relation with God as we understood Him.
Thank you. And Lisa, what will happen later?
Afterward, we found ourselves accepting many things which then seemed entirely out of reach.
Thank you. And Trish, what do we call that?
That was growth. But if we wished to grow, we had to begin somewhere.
Thank you. And Kenny, we kicked it off with you and we will end it with you. Final question of the night. What do we use?
So we used our own conception, however limited it was.
Thank you so much, folks. Excellent job. Excellent job. Everyone can remute themselves. Your hands have automatically disappeared, just like magic. And now the floor is open for sharing and your experience. And we are going to kick it off with Pinky. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you, Jamie. My name's Alyssa, recovered alcoholic. I'm going to kick it off so I can listen to you guys and lay down the rest of the meeting. So we Agnostics, I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago. This is the first time that I've been in this study, like in this part of the book line by line. And coincidentally, in the other studies that I lead right now, we're in the same part of the book. So if God isn't telling me something, but there's so much here that I didn't pay attention to when I went through this with a previous sponsor. And we read part of it tonight. And it talks where it starts, we found that as soon as we were able to lay aside prejudice and express even a willingness to believe in a power greater than ourselves, we commenced to get resolve. There's step 2 is, I came to believe that there's a power greater than myself that can restore me to sanity. And that's the start of it right there. When I first came in, I never related. I always compared myself to everybody. I was the exception. There's no way that I could, because it's not that I have a different higher power today. Still the same God. It's just my relationship with Him is different. I have an intimate two-way relationship with him today, where I go first to him, most of the time. Sometimes I make the mistake and try to do it on my own and try to use another human being, and then I'm quickly reminded that, no, this doesn't feel good. Let me go back and start this over. But I didn't think that I was, it's not that I thought I was, I'm drawing a blank on, I didn't think I was constitutionally incapable. But I just thought I wasn't, I mean, there was no way that I could rectify all the damage that I had done. That I wasn't worth being restored. So I always made that exception. You know, at least when I start working with new people, I suggest, look to where you can relate to what we're reading in the shares. See where you relate. Don't compare yourself. But I always did that in the beginning. And, so I wasn't open-minded. But today I'm more open-minded than I was when I came in. And, most of you guys know that I went through something yesterday. Step 11 was something that I utilized. There was a lot going on, and after he got home and he moved me to the sofa, and I just asked him, I mumbled to turn it on meditation on YouTube. And I just started praying out loud, and literally, I didn't realize that my body was still shaking. But they all watched it stop as I was praying and meditating with them all in the room. And if that isn't all 12 steps, I mean, without one, admitting I was powerless over alcohol, but I had to take step 1 because there is a power greater than myself that has restored me to sanity. Because in the midst of what I was going through at that moment, I wasn't fully conscious again, but I was conscious enough to know that I needed that connection. And then he just took over. And that's the miracle of it. And I didn't, that wasn't shared with me until way after last night. But in the beginning, I was so shut off from that I could be restored to sanity. But, that I knew there was God. I knew there was something greater than me out there, but I just didn't think that I was the exception to the rule. I wasn't worth it. But you guys kept telling me to come back. Keep trying. Keep doing it. The miracles will come. And that's just my most recent miracle. It's pretty amazing what this program does. It's not a program to me, it's a way of life. That higher power that I thought didn't want to help restore me to sanity. You guys told me to bring the shovel and he'll move the mountains. Well, that's my experience today. And so for that, I'm forever grateful. And so it doesn't, I'm just gonna keep coming back. I'm gonna keep learning, the open mind. I'm willing to be honest and completely open-minded because I don't know everything. And I never will know everything. And I'm okay with that today. And, for me even to say that without hesitation, 3 years ago, that would have been really hard for me to even say, without being, So, but that is the miracle of it. So I'm going to keep coming back. I appreciate all of you being of service and allowing me to be a part of this group. And I love you all.
Thank you, my sweet friend. So glad you're home. thank you for sharing that story with us, because that's a miracle in the working, witnessing. That is absolutely wonderful. Okay, folks, it's your meeting. I can't raise your hands for you. Otherwise, I just might. And I'm trying to stay out of being in the voluntold business tonight, because I ain't that power. Gotta love it when it's a dental chair. Okay, good. I knew you were reaching for the hand, Trish. There was just that pause and hesitation. Come on in, Trish.
No pause, no hesitation. I hadn't been reaching initially. I'm Trish and I'm an alcoholic. And I've got to go back to the 2 sentences that I read in the middle of the study. Let us make haste to reassure you. We found that as soon as we were willing to lay aside prejudice and express even a willingness to believe in a power greater than ourselves, we commenced to get results, even though it was impossible for any of us to fully define or comprehend that power which is God. I came in these rooms with a belief in a God that was given to me, and I was told, this is what you're going to believe. And I learned probably by age 8 or 9 that wasn't going to work for me, so I walked away from that God. And then spent years with that God-sized hole in my soul, trying to fill it with alcohol. And then coming into the rooms, when I first looked at the steps, specifically 2 and 3 of coming to believe in a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity, and turning my will and my life over to the care of God as I understood Him. For both of them, I just blew them off, saying I grew up going to church each week, I believe in God, but then I stalled there in the program because I never really took the time to see or understand or comprehend who that God was for me, other than knowing it wasn't the God I grew up with. But once I was able to lay aside that prejudice or that preconceived notion and have a willingness to believe that there was a power greater than myself, who wasn't just there but wanted to be involved in my life, that's when I started to get results, or started growing and started moving forward in the program and in the steps, and then got excited to want to do more of the steps and do more of the work. And then of course I stalled. But once I found that willingness to believe that maybe there is a power out there, not necessarily God, not by any name, but just willing to believe that there is a power out there, that's when the real growth for me started, because it took the power away from me. It took the control away from me, because I couldn't control anything anyway. And when I did, it fell apart. And then the realization in that next sentence, much to our belief, we discovered we didn't need to consider another conceptions of God. So I was given permission in this book to say, I don't have to believe in the God of my childhood that other people gave to me. And then the realization that my God doesn't have to look like yours, and yours doesn't have to look like mine, and it doesn't matter to me what your God looks like, as long as you have some sort of higher power in your life. And I'm working with 2 people right now who are really at this point and watching the willingness come and the light bulbs go on and the growth just jumping is absolutely wonderful to see. Not just how I saw in my own life, but now witnessing in somebody else's life. Once that willingness is there to believe in a higher power, that's when the growth begins, and that's when the growth really starts in spite of anything else I did. Because I was willing to believe that I didn't have to be in charge and that God was. Thanks.
Thank you, Trish. Art, good evening, my friend.
Hi everybody, my name is Art. I'm a grateful recovered alcoholic. And this portion of the book that we went over tonight, I talk about this quite a bit when I share in meetings, and you know, it really describes my experience, and that is this: when I had to admit to being powerless, it was a difficult thing for me to do. But then when in step 2 talks about a power greater than myself going to restore me to sanity, I found some hope there. Because I believed that God existed, I just didn't believe that he had any interest in my life. And I felt like I was never able to be good enough and couldn't live up to the standards that were set by the people that I grew up with. That I couldn't live up to those standards, and therefore could never be good enough to have a real relationship with God, the creator of the universe, even though I believed he was there. So I found some hope there because I had determined that if this power exists, and I believed he did, and I could learn how to tap into that power, then perhaps being powerless is not such a bad deal after all. And then I began to realize that what we read there tonight about, who can really understand this power? Who can really understand that? And I believe nobody can really. So when we talk about God as we understood him, what does that really mean? And as I continued to progress through the steps and begin to understand a little bit about how this program works, then I began to realize that I'm no different from anybody else. And I grew up around people that seemed to have that connection that I never figured out how to get. And so maybe it's possible for me too. Even though I don't understand who God is or how he works or what he does or why he does what he does. I don't understand any of that even today. But what I've learned over the years is that I can experience his presence in my life, even though I don't understand. And when I allow that to happen, then changes begin to develop, and I can see that this is a better way than where I was before coming here. And I can't say that I have returned to the God of my childhood, because I really haven't. I have a different understanding of who God is than what I was given as a child. However, when I allow myself to become intimately involved through prayer and meditation and through study and through experience. That it doesn't matter that I don't understand God. It really doesn't. I can still learn to trust that He knows better what's good for me than I do. And I can yield my will to His. In a way that allows me to live free. But I can only do that as I learn to trust. And then I have peace and I can enjoy life and I can be grateful no matter the circumstances of my life. And that's a gift of this program. I used to use a number of analogies about faith, and I've kind of come around to one that I think is probably most understandable when you're talking to folks. And so the analogy that I've come up with is the smartphone, the cell phone. This little device that we carry around with us and look at all the time. I have no idea how this thing works. I don't understand it. Not one thing about how it works. But I have learned to use it and to it has become a part of my life that I would hate to have to go without. And God is kind of like that. I don't understand how He does or what He does or why He does. But I have come to rely on it, even though I don't understand it. And to trust it, even though I don't understand it. And so it's not necessary to understand God to develop a relationship with God. And in this portion of the book that we read tonight is kind of pointing that out. That all that's necessary is that I have a little pinch of willingness to believe. And as I allow that to grow, it becomes a way of life. And I would never want to go back to where I was, where I believed that God created this world, set things in motion, and then took off on a vacation. He doesn't care what happens here. And that's kind of what I had come to by the time I got to Alcoholics Anonymous. But through this program, I have learned that it's okay for me to have the feelings that I had. It's okay for me not to be good enough. Nobody is. I can still approach God, in a spirit of humility and submission, really, to His will. And when I do that, I find that my life gets better. that I feel better about who I am. I feel better about who you are. I feel better about my existence on this planet. My life is improved tremendously over the time that I've been involved in Alcoholics Anonymous. So thank you all for being here, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to learn about what I needed to know in order for my life to get better, to improve. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Art. Benny, welcome. Come on in.
Hi, my name's Benny. I'm a great fellow recovering alcoholic and addict. Easier for my talk my camera off, but I'll turn my camera back on and I'll drop that talk. I'll let everybody share today. I grew up with God. The God is my understanding, as I'm certain. I grew up with God. I honestly grew up with God on the back burner. I mean, I went to church and prayed every day at home. I went to church and like did everything like my parents told me to do. But I never really had a relationship with him. It was only this program, the program of AA, and then to make the fellowship in AA that I really had a gift of having an honest relationship with my higher power. And that means more than anything more than anything in the world to me. I mean, I made mistakes even in the program, but that's when I tried to take back my will. That's when I made these mistakes. But when I give my will and my life over to my higher power, to my God, my higher power, that's when I let go of my control. When I let go of control, that's when I gain peace of mind, and that's when I can stay sober. That's when I can stay sober, just that day. And I've been clean for about a year and a half now, and I'm so grateful for the fellowship. Grateful like letting go of my will and letting my higher power take the steering wheel, kind of, and let him run the show. If I take back when I try to take back the show, that's when I relapse. That's when I know I'm gonna relapse, and I can't afford to relapse anymore. I relapsed 4 times, and I don't know. I hate calling it slip, but slip is like I don't know. Before I slip, you have to think like you gotta think by using. That's why the relapse starts in the thought. That's when my relapse starts, when I think about it. That's when I start first drink for a smoke. When I think about it, that's when I relapse. But that's when I think that I relapse, when I just think about it. Think about using like drugs and alcohol. So I just get that from out of my head, and I love you guys for the fellowship. I love this fellowship so much. I'm sorry I was late. But I'm so glad to come here tonight to listen to you guys, and I'll let Rose share so much. With that, I'll pass. I don't know if I'm making sense, but with that, I'll pass. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much, and come back and join us again, please. Trish has posted the meetings in the chat earlier. I don't know if you saw them. If not, we can repost them. Stephanie, welcome.
Hey there, Stephanie, recovered alcoholic. I was gonna put my hand up earlier, but I couldn't get my words in order, so I'm just gonna blurb it out and hope it makes any sense. But there was never a time in my life that I didn't believe in God. The end of when I finally came to AA, the relationship that I had with God was I believed God was all powerful and all knowing and the creator of everything, and I was just a failure. And the visions are just kind of embroidered in my brain of night after night, morning after morning, on my knees, begging God, asking God forgiveness, and it wasn't much of a relationship. Until number 3, and when you do number 3, or when I did number 3, it's like, okay, I said it, I'm gonna do it, and then you say, okay, I'm gonna turn my life over to God, I'm gonna do that, and then, but if you stay in it and you keep seeking, the relationship gets so much richer, and I'm learning daily more and more about how to trust and give my life to God, not just my life, everything. I know several people that suffer. They suffer with the problem with the God and don't want to go that way. And I have thought that there's so many different reasons that people feel that way. There's whether it's because of the way they were raised or how they were treated by somebody in a religious role, or there's just so many different ways that somebody could get to that point where they don't believe or they don't trust. They just don't have that. But the answer, to treat everybody individually would be kind of impossible. So it brought me back to the answer is just number 3, just to turn it all over. That would be like a blanket cure. And then I wondered, I just made some little notes, and I said, would I be here? Would I have this relationship that I do if I was an alcoholic? Would I have found God in this way? I don't know. Well, we won't know the answer. We won't ever know the answer to that, I guess, while I'm here. But there's something else I had, but I can't think of what it is right now. I'm very grateful, and the willingness to just, if you're struggling, you just have a little bit of willingness, just crack the door open to just a little bit of open-mindedness, I guess, because he will step up and he will come in. And that's all I got. I'll hush. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steph. Glad you're here, sister. I'm going to go ahead and jump in for a minute or two here, which is probably more than a minute or two. Hi, family. My name is Jamie. Very grateful, recovered alcoholic, and so grateful that all of you are here. I'm going to go back to the recap first. And I want to touch on this. In the preceding chapters, you have learned something of alcoholism. We hope that we have made the clear distinction between the alcoholic and the non-alcoholic. And I ask myself these 2 questions in the first person. If when I am drinking and I honestly want to, if when you honestly want to, you find you cannot quit entirely, or if when drinking you have little control over the amount you take, you are probably alcoholic. If that be the case, you may be suffering from an illness which only a spiritual experience will conquer. That one paragraph does 2 things for me. It finishes off step 1. At that point, if I can answer those questions of, no, I can't quit on my own, no, I can't control the amount that I take, I'm an alcoholic, I'm done with step 1, it's time to get off the fence. and move forward. That last sentence tells me I am not going to be able to control this by myself. I'm going to have some sort of spiritual experience in order for it to be conquered. So moving into tonight's story, and I always say that this chapter, I believe, is a pathway to letting go of old ideas and old beliefs. And when I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, I had had the old ideas and old beliefs still in my mind from my childhood and the church of my religious upbringing. And through practicing my disease, wasn't sure about God, wasn't sure if there was a God, sometimes said there was no God. Walked all of those particular paths in my life. I can tell you that not one of them served me well. And I ended up serving and being slave to that master known as alcohol. So what has happened for me is I still believe in the same God that I was taught about. I just don't practice the religion that was brought to me. And in that particular religion, there were some holes, there were some gaps, and there were some real funny ideas, because you see, God gave me 10 simple ideas to live by, and another commandment a little later on, a little over 2,000 years ago, and I couldn't live up to any of them. And like everyone else has said, I was never going to be good enough. God didn't care about me, all of those things. And guess what? All of those things are lies. All of those things are lies that we tell ourselves. So, on page 45, we had this sentence. We were bothered with the thought that faith and dependence upon a power greater than ourselves was somewhat weak and cowardly. That's got my ego written all over it. It's got my pride. It's got the 7 deadly sins. I got my fingerprints all over that statement. But we put in a comment that you guys don't have in your book. Art, you might be familiar with this comment because you explained it to me this way. We reworded it a little bit differently, but you explained it to me this way over 33 years ago, or about 33 years ago, when one more time I was whining and I came out with this term in the pool room at the club, and I said, "Oh, I'm just so codependent." And you looked at me and you laughed and you said, "Give me a break. There is no such thing as codependence. It is a word that someone invented so that they could sell an idea." And you went on to explain this to me, and you used the grocer as the example. But here's what we put in our comment. Do we have faith that when we go to the grocery store, we will find the bananas in the produce section? Do we have faith that the person who grows the bananas, the person who buys them for the store, and the person who puts them on the shelves so that we can buy them, is this not faith and dependence on a power greater than ourselves? Why then do we struggle to have faith in something that we cannot see? So one of the things that I have come to believe in my journey in Alcoholics Anonymous, through the process of taking the steps, that has been my development of faith. I love the way step 2 is worded. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. It doesn't mean I have to believe it before I can start the process of building the relationship with God through the process of taking the steps. And it's steps 3 through 9 which make me recovered from the hopeless state of mind and body. And if I think about it, realistically, wouldn't sanity be defined, or another definition of sanity be that I no longer suffer and struggle with the hopeless state of mind and body? Certainly makes absolute sense to me, and it's something that I can live with. So this pathway, even though I am a true believer today, and it's one of my favorite chapters, I believe it to be one of the finest writings on the earth. And it has something to offer to me every time I open the book and read it. It has something to give to my life, which is absolutely beautiful. What I have come to understand in my journey of Alcoholics Anonymous is I take the steps for me, and I begin to heal. I begin to have the God of my experience rather than a God of my understanding, because that God has brought me through more pain, more difficulty, relieved me of the things that I have asked to be relieved of. Now, while there may be no codependency, what I believe is in our personal relationships is what we have developed as an interdependency on one another, where each of us brings something to the table. One of us might bring a problem and a situation, the other might bring a solution. Sometimes that flip-flops, and the person that we go to the solution for all the time might be having the problem, and we begin to bring a solution to them. So I honestly believe that we as humans become interdependent while the whole process of going through the steps teaches us how to become completely God-dependent. Because while I love all of you guys, there's things you can't do for me. I remember several years ago going to my sponsor with a problem, and his answer was this: Jamie, the only way I know how to get from where you are to where you need to be is through prayer. It was the right answer then, and it is still the right answer today for every problem in my life. And when I do that, life is amazing, and I get to keep my ego out of it. I get to keep my pride out of it. Most importantly, I get to keep the control and manipulation of others out of it. And I get to live at peace, moving forward to what I believe my God wants me to do. And every day when I stay in that step 11 process, not just reading it, but living it, what happens is I get to be at complete peace no matter what's going on outside of my hula hoop. Because God is in my hula hoop with me. And that is amazing. Xavier, welcome, my friend.
Thank you, Jamie. Xavier, recovered alcoholic. Grateful to be here. It's been a crazy night, so happy to catch the meeting. Quickly, with regard to chapter 4, a couple things. First, practical. The concept, I don't need to believe in a higher power, just some willingness to believe is a pretty big deal, especially at times when things aren't so great. If I just have that willingness, I'm in good shape. And that's enough to, do the other steps, to do effective inventory, effective prayer, to do service, etc., even if I'm in a bad place. And today I got hit with a sledgehammer. One of our top employees is taken off in a month, just gave notice. So a lot of fear kicked in. I'm looking forward to talking to my sponsor about it in the near future. But with that said, I kept praying about it and thinking, I took my son out tonight to an event, and I was praying, while he was playing with some toys, and thinking, this can be really positive. Let's make a negative into a positive. I kept praying for guidance, and some real clarity came to me, and I'm grateful for that. It's like I like the idea of no matter what tragedy happens in life, whether it's or any good thing or anything in general, I have a choice because my higher power gave me free will, and I can choose to utilize that situation by seeing it to bring me closer to my higher power or push me farther away. And I'm choosing to see this situation as bringing me closer to my higher power, whatever that looks like, and leaning extra hard. I like the idea of don't work your problem, work your program. So, I have some fear. I'm going to really lean on the tools in my tool chest. Meeting with a sponsee pretty soon. I'll talk to my sponsor pretty soon. I'm going to do prayer. I'm going to meditate. I'm definitely doing some inventory. My 10th step tells me to pray for the fear to go away, to, talk to another person, ideally an alcoholic, to make amends if I need to, which I don't, and then to go help somebody. So I'm doing those 4 things right now as we speak, because that's what the big book tells me to do, and then going from there. So, just going back to, as long as I have a willingness to believe that some crazy higher power is going to be there for me, that's all I need, and then I can do these actions and watch the magic happen. So that's all I got. I will pass. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. Wonderful to see you tonight. And Pickle Chips, would you like to read us out with page 164, please?
Yes, I would. Let me hit the light here. Hit the light. Let's see.
Hit the light, Fandango.
Yeah, there we go. How's that? Okay. This is from page 164, the big book. Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask Him in your morning meditation, which you can do each day, for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order. But obviously, you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with Him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to Him and your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. Woo!
Thank you so much, Terry. Thank you to everyone for being here tonight and your participation. Always a joy to be with you, and always a joy to take this journey with you. So, we got a real special way of closing out around here for those of you who wish. Since we can't hold hands together like we do in a bricks and mortar meeting, we virtually hold hands and still try and stay connected. And after a moment of silence for those who are still sick and suffering, let's close out with the Lord's Prayer. Here's your moment. Thank you. Who will take us from shame to grace if we let Him? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be Thy name. Thy kingdom come, Thy will be done, on earth as it is in the heavens. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you so much, folks. God bless you all.
God bless you. That was great. And I saw Mia's hand.
Thank you for service. It was so wonderful to listen. That I just love it.
Yeah, I'm so glad you came.
It's good to see you, my friend.
It's so good to see you, Benny, and we welcome you here.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate I love the group. I love the group so much. Thank you for everything.
Hope to see you again, Benny.
Yes, come join us anytime.
Wednesday, Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and then tonight is 7:30 Eastern Time.
Okay.
And Wednesday and Sunday we open half an hour early for fellowship before the meeting.
Mondays at 7